Hi friends, welcome back to my Flosstube. This is going to be a quick update on all the things that I was stitching on in the last couple weeks. So this is a channel about cross stitch. My name is Phoebe, and yeah, I'm just going to share with you what I've been enjoying stitching on and all the happy stitching things. So I usually have a new update video for you about every 2 weeks. I'm filming a little early today because I'm headed to Southern California for a friend's birthday party this weekend. So I'll probably edit this up when I get back. It probably won't be up till Tuesday or Wednesday. But I've done about 2 weeks worth of stitching and I'm ready to share. So it's funny how plans always go. Usually I don't end up doing what I said in the plans that I was gonna do. So I was talking about in my last video about working on some of the 2023 Mania WIPS from working on a different project for the first 23 days of 2023 in May. So this year I'll be doing that for the first 24 days. But I wanted to get some of those finished up so I could put other projects into those slots. However, what I actually ended up doing this last couple weeks, besides the 2 random projects that we selected for me to stitch, I have a new start that was a totally new pattern to me. So I'm going to share that with you first. And then my WIPs are all projects that I did not touch at all in 2023. So I looked through my stitchy journals, my notebooks where I keep all my WIPs and like the start dates, and then I mark down in there when I've stitched on stuff. And there were some projects that I didn't pull out at all last year. So I wanted to get some time spent with those projects and figure out if I still want to keep them, or if when it comes time for my WIP parade, which will be in March because that's my Flosstube anniversary month, I wanted to see if I was just like done with those projects. So we shall see. We're going to talk about that when we get into the WIPs. So first I'm going to talk about my new starts, then I'll do my new start singular. Then I will share with you my works in progress, which is what WIPS stands for. I don't have any haul again. I'm going to tell you the 2 winners from last video's giveaway. I had 2 giveaways. And then I will talk a little bit about plans and a little bit about book chat. So that's how it's going to go today. Let's go ahead and take a look at my new start. Okay, my new start is the new mystery sal from Teresa Kogut for her tier 4 members on Patreon. So it's called My Hometown, I think, or just Hometown. Hometown. And it's a mystery sal, stitch along. That's what sal is. And so there's going to be a new portion of the project released the 15th of every month for the next 2 years. This goes all the way until December of 2025. And it looks adorable. So here is the first part. I got the entire first portion of the pattern stitched, and you can see that the project is going to be long. It's more vertical than it is wide. She has all the dimensions in there so you know what size fabric that you're going to need and everything. And this is how much was released on January 15th. So I'll get the next part on February 15th. And I converted this entirely from stash with fancy flosses. Of course, not all of these flosses were used in the first part, but I find that I'm a huge Teresa Kogut fan, but I find that a lot of her projects use really kind of more drab browns. In fact, the names of the DMCs just literally say drab brown. And so I enjoy stitching with a drab brown more if it has some variegation. So I have things like Weeks Flatfish in here. I have XJU or JU Design Dark Bark. I have JU Design Ancient Gold. There's a bunch of thread works in here. There is just a whole mix of fun stuff, and I am super, super excited. There's a Dinky Dyes in here. So that is what this is what I pulled out. If you would like this full list of flosses, you can send me a message and I can get those for you if you want. So yeah. There's a nice huge willow tree in there. We've got our first house started, and then the starts. So we've got a little deer down here and the starts of a house here and a house there. And yes, I only ever really have one of my hands painted with nail polish. This is one of our new polishes that we just made this last weekend for our Valentine's mix long event. And this polish is called Dread Velvet Cake. and it is a red violet linear hollow. So anyway, and if you're new to my channel, I also make nail polish. My brand is Moonshine Mani. It's always linked down below. Okay, so here's how it looks. There is back stitching. There's going to be words right there, and then there's more back stitching up here in the bird's nest and things like that, but there wasn't instructions for back stitching yet, so I'm guessing she's going to give that later at the end. So that is my new start. All right, so we drew 2 random projects last week for me to stitch on, and we actually drew this one again, and I had just stitched on this the previous 2 weeks as well. So that was kind of funny. So I just got a little bit more done on it. I feel like I filled out that tire. I wasn't feeling hugely inspired to get a massive amount done on this, so yeah, here's our quick update. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm stitching that Sal on a piece of 32 count Lugana that I overdyed myself, and then this is Fiber on a Whim Pumpkin, 36 count. So I'm using 1/2, and on that Sal I'm also using 1/2 because that's my preference. So this is Hello Halloween by Sue Hillis. My next WIP was also from my random draw with you guys last time, and it came to another Halloween pattern. So I got back out my Halloween Quaker. This is really getting filled out. I'm getting some great progress done. So this is stitched on Cauldron from Picture This Plus. It is a 28 count Lugana. I'm using 2 strands over 2, and I don't love that. So this is one of the patterns that, or one of the projects that really made me decide that I just want to stitch 1 strand all the time. So I came in and I finished this whole medallion. It wasn't completely done last time. And then I came down here and did this whole medallion. And I think I started this little spider down here. I also put in, I think, that little guy and that guy. Maybe that guy, I can't remember. But yeah, got a lot of work done on it. And I love it. I need to buy some more Blackbird. I used up a lot of Blackbird, so I need some more. So this, if you don't know, is Halloween Quaker from Lila's studio. And I really love whenever I get to pull out this piece. Oh, and I'm using all the called fors with this, and I'm using the called for DMC on the Sue Hillis Hello Halloween. Okay, these next 4 projects are all things that I looked through and noticed that I had not stitched on at all in 2023. So the first one is Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut. Now there are 2 reasons I didn't stitch on this at all. The first being that I started this on 46 count because it is a very large pattern, and it's just a little bit more difficult for me to stitch on if I don't have super great lighting, and I'm usually downstairs in my basement. So that was kind of a deterrent for me. That wasn't an issue this time. The main issue with this project is that I was using the call for flosses, and like I told you before, some of her colors are just too prim for me. The yellows and browns are too drab for me. I just need some color. I think it was Lisa I saw in her recent video. She was talking about how she needs color or she gets bored. I'm the exact same way. So I love the pattern of Let Love Rain. I'm not in love with the colors. So this is actually basically a restart. So in that design, it's not completely DMC, but it's mostly DMC. And there's a lot of like browny yellow, especially for this outer flower. Now you're gonna see mine looks totally different now because I pulled out every color in there except for Weeks Onyx and Weeks Oscar stayed the same, but everything else has changed. I basically ripped it all out and put back in the new color right after ripping out the old color. So this is gonna look really, really different because this flower is all one floss. It's a Mrs. Seda silk. It's also in this flower, and it's going to be really predominant in this pattern. And it looks like this. And I love it because I love yellow and blue together. I think it's gonna go really great in this design. This is called Oxide from Mrs. Seda Silk. I will link her website down below. I love her silks. They're so beautiful, and I hadn't found a reason to use this or a project for it, and it's gonna work really nicely with the other flosses. I also went in and converted everything else in the design because I just find that I have so much more enjoyment when I'm stitching if I'm using flosses that I love. Now for some projects like you're gonna see coming up, a full DMC list is just perfect. But for me, when they're all kind of more prim colors, they're not as interesting for me. They can't hold my interest as much. So full conversion, again, if you want it, let me know. It uses Cottage Garden threads. There's Gentle Arts in here. There's Classic Colorworks. There's Forbidden Fiber Co. There's so much good stuff in here. So yeah, just let me know. But I'm enjoying it so much more now. So I'm really, really excited that I basically decided to restart the project. So this is a piece of 46 count that I overdyed. I believe it probably just started out as like flax or something. And there is Let Love Rain from Teresa Kogut. The next project that I got out that I was super surprised that I had not stitched on at all in 2023 is This Happy Morning from Plum Street Samplers. Now this project just feels huge to me. So this is a 36 count Be Stitch Me. It's a blue shade. I'll put it across the screen when I figure out what it is. And so here is how much I have done. I feel like this design, you'll know because I've put it on the screen by now. I always have my patterns turned so that I'm looking at the pattern and then like the list of the flosses on most of my patterns, and so I'm not just like looking straight at the picture. But anyway, I feel like it doesn't go much lower than that, but this project just feels huge. Now I figured out what is the reason why I'm not super compelled to stitch on this one very much is the border is kind of boring for me. And so I remember now that when I got this out before, in 2022, I think I stitched on this a couple times. And so I started here and then I jumped down to these trees and then I jumped over here because I was bored of stitching the same 3 colors. Like you're literally stitching, these are 2 different DMC greens up here, which they're beautiful greens. Then you have 3 different weeks in the red. No, it's a cherry cobbler and then 2 weeks, cayenne and something else. And then, so you're using the same colors here. And then this is all the same stuff too. So I think I lose interest easily in this. Even though they're really bright, beautiful colors, it's kind of too much samey same. So yeah, this time I came across, so basically one whole page is done, that first page. And then I started the border going across the top to the end of the second page almost. So I brought that over and then I did this whole vining. And believe it or not, like that took enough time that that's all I really got done in that day. So, yep. This is This Happy Morning from Plum Street Samplers. And I'm sure you know this pattern. There's just gonna be this big, huge, beautiful barn right there that I've just started mapping out a little bit, but yeah. So this is stitched 1/2 on 36 count. And this one is using the Call for flosses. This next pattern that I got out, I had not stitched on it at all in 2023. And so basically it had my start from when I started in 2022 and nothing else. So I've been putting up my comparison photos for you, but this is Fruits of Plenty from Modern Folk Embroidery. And I fully fell in love with this pattern. So the last time, all I'd done was this. I had bordered this out there, done the corner, that's it. There might have been like a little bit of this bird's head. So everything else in there is what I did on this one, and I just really, really fell in love with it. So I chose the flosses Carriage House Black from Gentle Arts and Deep Sea from Gentle Arts. Sorry, I said Carriage House Black, but I mean Carriage Black. So here's how they look together, and I just, when it was only like this, I just couldn't really tell if I was gonna love it a lot, and now I just like love, love, love it. So I'm so glad that I didn't decide to be done with this project before working on it some more, because I'm fully in love. So this is a piece of 40 count that I overdyed to give it these springy yellowy greens, and because I thought that that would be a good contrast with these shades in here. and I'm just really, really enjoying it. So this is gonna be a long haul piece, but I got all this done in, I think, 2 days, and just really enjoyed it. So 1 strand over 2 on the 40 count, and I think that's it. The project that I got out that actually prompted me, I think, to make sure I touch a number of WIPs that I hadn't touched in 2023 was this next one. I saw somebody stitching on this and I was like, oh, I need to get mine out. So this is Consider the Lilies by Heartstring Samplery. So I had probably only touched this twice since starting it. I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count flax, just plain. I don't think I did any more of the border. I might have done a little bit more down here. But basically this time was all of this, like from here down. I think I had a little bit of this in, but I made sure that every stitch was done up here, so there's nothing left to do up here. And then did this part, and it's just so cute, so fun. I think sometimes I don't get this out because it's just such a big piece, and it's really daunting, the fact that it's that big. You know, if you have this, you know, this is 40 count and it's gonna be absolutely huge. So, I mean, I've given myself a nice big margin, but still, it's gonna be huge. I'm stitching with all of the called for flosses on this 40 count. This is another piece that I dyed to add in some kind of raspberry splashes a little bit. I said that it was plain flax. Duh, obviously it's not. My Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow is the one that's on plain flax, because the first block that I started with was full coverage, and I was like, why am I gonna put this on interesting fabric? Well, I have since, every time I look at Vicky, the Virginia Stitcher, hers, where it's on that purple, I'm like, oh, I would die if I was stitching on that every time. That would have been so wonderful. I should have done that. So, but, you know, I hadn't thought of it back then. I'm stitching this with all the called for flosses, 1/2, and that's Consider the Lilies. My final WIP was my Christmas stitching that I pulled out on the 25th. I actually pulled it out on the 26th because Tim's birthday is on the 25th, and we were doing stuff with him on his birthday. But this is Oh Holy Night from Stoney Creek. So I'm starting down in the bottom left. This is going to be a horizontal chart, as you can see from the image. And I'm stitching this on, I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember what this piece of fabric is, but I'll look it up and put it on the screen. So this time when I got this out, I'm using highlighter method for this one. This chart feels a lot like a dimensions chart where you just have all these confetti symbols all on top of each other, and my eyes have such a hard time registering that and not getting anxiety from that kind of chart, but highlighting helps a lot. So I came in and just, this time I was just filling in some of the areas that hadn't got touched last time. So I'm totally confetti stitching on this. I'm just picking a color, finishing it there, and then seeing where I can come over and put it in. So I'm using all the called for DMC with this one, and I'm doing 1/2. I think this is, I feel like this is, this was something I got from Atomic Ranch, and this one is a pretty tight weave. So it might have been 36 count, but it feels more like 40 count when I'm stitching on it. And so 1 strand. Oh, one of my favorite things in the last 2 weeks is that I've been pin stitch starting and finishing with everything now. And my friend Heidi from WIPS and Kits, she tried to teach me that technique like probably a year ago, and I just didn't get it. When I was watching her do it, I was like, oh, I don't know, that just feels too confusing, but I really, really love it. She shared with me the cross stitch, Shyla the Stitch MD, her video that she has. It's just like super up close, and I totally was able to see what was happening from that video, so I'll link that down below. But thank you to Heidi, thank you to Shiloh, because I've been really, really enjoying the pin stitch to start and finish. So if you haven't tried that yet, I highly recommend go check out that video. Oops, that was not my last WIP. I didn't show you what my 2 strands a day WIP is. So you know, in my last video, I told you that I was going to be stitching on the Happy Heart sampler from Birds of a Feather for the entire month of January. So I am. So I'm going to do 2 strands a day for every day of the month and see how far I get. So this is how far I am on, what is it today, the 27th? Today when I'm filming, it's the 27th. So 27 days of 2 strands. So it takes me maybe like 20 minutes to do, and this is where I am. So, yeah. I mean, I think the last time you saw this, I just had the bird in those hands, so everything else has been since then. I'm doing my full own conversion of this, per usual. And so, for example, with the black, I'm actually doing a caterpillar from Gentle Arts, which is a dark brown. But I pulled it all from stash again, so as with everything, it's a whole mix of all the lovely dyers that I love to stitch with their flosses from. And so again, if you would like this conversion, let me know. We have Cottage Garden Threads, Dinky Dyes, Threadworks, Classic Colorworks, Gentle Arts, Weeks. Okay, so you're gonna see this in my next video, but then by my next video, I will have chosen what my February 2 strands a day is gonna be. That is stitched on a piece of 32 count, and I'm using just 1 strand over 2. So as for our giveaways, I had 2. The first one is for Friendship Garden. These are both projects that I finished in the last month's period of time, and I want to give away the pattern. And so I had you guys enter some comments down below that had specific words. So the winner of the Friendship Garden pattern is Cherie10. Thank you so much. What you're gonna wanna do to claim your prize is email me at moonshinemanicontact@gmail.com. I will put that right along here. So just email me, please, and I just need your name and address so I can send it to you. So thank you. And the winner for the Gathering Honey pattern is Jamie Cruz _. I'll put that right there again with the email, which you can message me so that I can get your address and send that to you. I hope you both have so much fun stitching those projects, and thank you for being here with me on my channel and for commenting and joining in the fun. So, like I said, I have no haul. I didn't have any finishes this time, so I don't have any giveaways, but as far as my plans, so I'm gonna be gone, like I said, in Southern California for a couple days, but I will be able, yeah, I should take the project that I always stitch on the 30th, I'll take that and stitch on the plane on the way home. So I'll stitch on Blackberry House, that's my 30th, and then on the 31st I'll stitch on something Halloween-y. I don't know what yet. We'll see when I do my random draws. Maybe I'll pick something Halloween-ish. And then on the 4th, we'll do some Salute to Abigail on the 4th stitching. And then of course on the 7th, I'll have my birthday stitching. We're gonna have a lot of specific stuff. On the 10th, I'll be stitching on Pretty Little London. And then I will be seeing you back on around the 12th or 13th. So that's a lot of specific things. But in the meantime, I've been really enjoying looking for which WIPs I didn't touch in 2023. So I can really be able to make a good informed decision by my WIP parade of projects that I would like to DNF, do not finish. So yeah, because I don't really want to hang on to WIPs that I'm not really interested in stitching anymore. So now I'm going to draw 2 random projects with you. So how I do that, I have 23 projects from last year's Mania. So I have a random generator and I'm going to put 1 to 23 in here, and then I randomize it and see what comes up. So number 7. So here's my Mania WIP journal page. So number 7, so I'm going to be stitching on Summertime from Primrose Cottage. So that will be really, really fun. So you'll see a little bit of work on that. And then the second way that I choose a random WIP is I have a decisions wheel that has every one of my WIPs in it. And so I have it blocking it out if I've already picked it. So technically it should pick me a WIP that I haven't stitched on in a while, but we'll see. Autumn Sampler Kit. Oh wow, yeah, I have not stitched on that in a while. So I've put these up on the screen so you can see what they look like. And so that'll be fun. That'll be really fun. All right, so as far as what I have been reading. So my friend Leilani and I like to buddy read some stuff. And we started a book called The Priory of the Orange Tree. And this is by Samantha Shannon. It is another book that's about dragons, and it's a big world. It's not in our world, it's a fantasy book. And so there's a bit of world building, like the first 7 to 9 chapters-ish. You're getting to know all these different characters, and then as the book goes on, they all get weaved in with intrigue. So there's magic, and there's dragons, there's kings, queens, there's different religions that clash in the book, and I am really, really enjoying it. So it takes a little bit to get into it because they're just kind of like with the Grace of Kings. They're really like, there's a lot of different characters and it just feels like a lot at first. But then you get used to it, and then it's really fun to see how everything kind of weaves together. So I still have 18 hours of that book left, so I still have quite a bit to read. I also started another series. I can't remember if I talked about it in my last one. I think I did. From Blood and Ash. If you like spicy fantasy, Prior to the Orange Tree, not spicy at all as far as I'm in, which I'm not in that far. I think I'm in chapter 22. From Blood and Ash is spicy. It's also my first time reading a vampire-ish kind of book. And I don't want to say too much about the book because I feel like it's really hard to not give spoilers about what's going to happen. But basically it's about this girl, and she lives a very, very sheltered life. Like, she's not allowed to talk to, touch. She can see people, but they can't see her because she's under a veil. And like, part of her country's religion requires a person to be what she is for the country and for their religion. But she never chose it. And she finds herself really wanting to push back against that life. In the midst of that, there's different kinds of people. There's werewolves, and there's vampires, and there's different creatures that she doesn't really know anything about. And she kind of gets thrust into finding all about all the things. And then it's very Sarah J. Maas, where the character's gonna go from one thing in the beginning to like a really different thing. So this is a series, I think there's like 7 books. So I read the first one. It was, quite frankly, really slow and almost dull for the whole first 2/3. The last part, this is how it always happens with me. Until the main character starts to get like some powers and stuff, I just think it's kind of boring. I know that they're trying to set like the groundwork for the person to make the big character arc, but yeah, it's not like, it's definitely not my favorite thing I've read in a while, but if you like some spicy fantasy, I think you'll like it. And I'd never read a vampire book before either, so it's not bad. Also, the narrator has to do a lot of accents. That's the other thing. The narrator in Prior to the Orange Tree, she has a Jamaican accent. She has a Scottish and English, just American sounding accent. I think some African accent. Really, really cool. So, yeah. Great narration in those ones. Anyway, so I moved on from Blood and Ash, and I started reading the second one, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. And so that's just, it keeps on going with her evolution and her character arc and her powers and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I've been reading. As far as shows, I finished The Bear. So there's 2 seasons out of that. It is a very kind of frantic, high stress kind of show about a man trying to open a restaurant and just like the craziness of his family. I feel like it's very relatable, but don't watch it if like a lot of noise and stressful situations, if you know that's going to be triggering for you and just like rattle you for the day, because it's definitely can be rattling if you're not in like a calm space when you watch it. But yeah, so that's what I was watching besides Flosstube. I didn't watch a ton of Flosstube in the last couple weeks, but I did watch some. I think that's gonna be it for today. So I will see you back in 2 weeks. Happy stitching until then. Thanks for joining me for this video. And I appreciate you subscribing, liking the video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you back next time. Take care. Bye.